You're dead to me. My daughter's voice cut through the restaurant like a blade through silk. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. The clatter of silverware ceased, replaced by the suffocating silence of strangers watching a family implode. I sat there, frozen, my coffee cup halfway to my lips. The porcelain felt cold against my fingertips. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears, drowning out the soft jazz that had been playing moments before. Sarah stood above me, her face twisted with something I'd never seen before. Hatred. Pure, undiluted hatred. Her designer handbag, the one I'd saved 3 months to buy her for her birthday, hung from her shoulder. Her perfectly manicured nails, paid for by my overtime shifts, pointed at me like accusations. But it was what hung around her neck that made my breath catch. The necklace. My mother's necklace. The one thing I had left of her. The delicate gold chain with the small emerald pendant, no bigger than a teardrop. I had given it to Sarah on her 16th birthday, wrapped in tissue paper I'd pressed flat with my hands because I couldn't afford wrapping paper that month. "You're not my mother anymore," she hissed, loud enough for the entire cafe to hear. "I don't want anything to do with you. Nothing. Do you understand?" I found my voice, though it came out barely above a whisper. "Then why do you still wear my necklace?" Her hand flew to her throat, fingers wrapping around the pendant as if to hide it. For just a moment, one precious, fleeting moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Shame? Or maybe just the realization that she'd been caught in her own contradiction. "This?" She laughed, but it sounded hollow, forced. "This is mine now. You gave it to me. It's not yours anymore." "I gave it to you because I loved you," I said, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. "Because you were my daughter. Because every time you wore it, I wanted you to remember that you were loved. Well, I don't need your love anymore." She leaned down, her face inches from mine, her breath smelling of the peppermint gum she always chewed. "I have Richard now. I have his family, his money, his respect, everything you could never give me. Richard, her fiancé. The man I'd never been good enough to meet properly, apparently. The man whose family was hosting an engagement party I hadn't been invited to. Sarah, don't." She held up her hand. "Don't say my name like you have any right to it. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." I watched her turn, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor with each step. The other diners slowly returned to their meals, their conversations, their lives. But I could feel their eyes on me, their pity like a weight pressing down on my shoulders. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. 53 years old, and my hands were shaking like I was a child again, standing in front of my mother's casket, wondering how I'd survive without her. The waitress approached tentatively. She was young, maybe 20, with kind eyes that reminded me of Sarah when she was that age. "Ma'am, are you okay? Can I get you anything?" I shook my head, unable to speak. What could she get me? My daughter back? My dignity? The 27 years of motherhood that had just been declared worthless in front of a room full of strangers? I pulled out my wallet, hands still trembling, and left a $20 bill on the table for a $10 meal. I didn't wait for change. I couldn't stay in that place another second, surrounded by the ghost of my daughter's words. The autumn air hit my face as I pushed through the door. Chicago was beautiful this time of year, the trees along Michigan Avenue burning with orange and gold. But I didn't see the beauty. I only saw the reflection of myself in the cafe window, a woman in a faded coat, with gray threading through her brown hair, looking older than her 53 years. I'd worn my best outfit today, a navy dress I'd found at Goodwill, but that still looked presentable. Pearl earrings, fake, but passable. I'd even done my makeup, something I rarely bothered with anymore, because I'd thought maybe, just maybe, if I looked put together enough, if I appeared successful enough, Sarah might reconsider. I'd come to apologize, to bridge whatever gap had formed between us, to beg if I had to. Instead, I'd been publicly executed. My phone buzzed in my purse. I pulled it out with shaking fingers, hoping, pathetically, desperately hoping. It was Sarah, calling to take it back, to say she didn't mean it. It was a notification from my bank. Insufficient funds. The automatic payment for my electricity had been declined. I stood there on the sidewalk, people flowing around me like water around a stone, and I let myself feel it all. The humiliation, the heartbreak, The crushing weight of realizing that the person you'd given everything to had just told the world you were nothing. But something else stirred inside me too. Something small and hot and bright. An ember of anger that had been dormant for so long I'd forgotten it existed. She still wore the necklace. Despite everything she'd said, despite her cruel words and her public rejection, she wore my mother's necklace around her throat like a trophy. And I wanted to know why. My name is Eleanor Walsh, though most people just call me Ellie. I live in a studio apartment in Pilsen, on the south side of Chicago, where the rent is cheap enough that I can almost afford it on my hospice nurse salary. Almost being the operative word. The apartment is small, 300 square feet that contains my entire life. A Murphy bed that folds down from the wall, a kitchenette with 2 burners, a bathroom where I have to turn sideways to close the door, one window that looks out onto a brick wall. But it's mine. Or at least it's mine until the end of the month, when the landlord has threatened to evict me if I can't come up with the back rent I owe. I work at Mercy General Hospital, in the palliative care wing. I hold the hands of dying strangers. I listen to their regrets, their confessions, their final wishes. I've watched more people take their last breath than I can count. It's hard work, emotionally devastating work, but it pays just enough to keep me fed. Most days. I wasn't always barely scraping by. Once I had a house in Oak Park, a good neighborhood with good schools. I'd bought it with my husband, David, back when we were young and thought love was enough. David left when Sarah was 7. Just walked out one Tuesday morning and never came back. He sent child support for exactly 6 months. Then the checks stopped coming. I raised Sarah alone. I gave up my dreams of finishing nursing school. I'd been 2 semesters away from my RN, because I couldn't afford both tuition and daycare. I worked as a CNA instead, changing bedpans and taking orders from nurses younger than me. I packed Sarah's lunches every morning. I braided her hair before school. I helped with homework at the kitchen table while eating dinner from a can because it was cheaper than cooking. When she wanted to take ballet, I picked up weekend shifts. When she wanted to go to summer camp, I sold my mother's wedding ring, the only other piece of jewelry I'd inherited. When she got into Northwestern University, I refinanced the house and took out loans in my name so she wouldn't have debt. I gave her everything, and I told myself it was worth it. Every sacrifice, every missed meal, every night, I cried myself to sleep from exhaustion. Because she was my daughter, and I loved her, and that's what mothers do. We were close, Sarah and I. Or at least, I thought we were. She used to call me every day from college. She'd tell me about her classes, her friends, her dreams. She wanted to be a lawyer, to help people, to make a difference. I was so proud of her. Then she met Richard Blackwood III. His family owns a chain of luxury hotels across the Midwest. Old money, real estate money, the kind of money that comes with expectations and standards, and a very clear idea of who belongs in their world. I didn't belong. I knew that the first time Sarah brought him by the house during her senior year. I'd cleaned for 3 days straight. I'd bought nice food I couldn't afford. I'd worn my best dress. Richard walked through my door like he was touring a museum of poverty. His eyes took in everything. The worn carpet, the thrift store furniture, the water stain on the ceiling I couldn't afford to fix. "It's cozy," he'd said. Sarah had looked embarrassed. That's when I first saw it, the way she saw me through his eyes. The shabby furniture, the cramped rooms. The mother who worked as a nurse's aide instead of an actual nurse. The woman who shopped at Goodwill and clipped coupons. I wasn't good enough. After that visit, Sarah's phone calls became less frequent. Then they stopped altogether, except for brief texts. I told myself she was busy with graduation, with job hunting, with starting her adult life. I didn't want to see the truth. When she got engaged 6 months ago, I found out through Facebook. She'd posted a photo of her ring, a massive diamond that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years, with the caption, "He said yes," and a dozen exclamation points. I'd called her immediately, excited, wanting to congratulate her, to ask about wedding plans. She didn't answer. She didn't call back. For 6 months, I left messages. I sent texts. I mailed cards. Nothing. Until today, when I'd seen on her social media that she was in Chicago for a dress fitting. I'd found out which cafe she'd mentioned. I'd gone there, hoping to accidentally run into her, to force a conversation, to fix whatever had broken between us. And instead, I'd been told I was dead to her. I sat on my Murphy bed now, still in my navy dress, and stared at the wall. The sun was setting, painting my brick view in shades of orange and pink, but all I could think about was the necklace. The text messages came 3 hours after the cafe incident. They weren't from Sarah. They were from Richard's mother, Victoria Blackwood, a woman I'd never met, never spoken to, never even been introduced to properly. But somehow she had my number. Ms. Walsh, this is Victoria Blackwood, Richard's mother. We need to discuss your behavior today. My son showed me the messages you've been sending Sarah. This harassment must stop immediately. You're causing her tremendous stress during what should be a happy time. If you continue to contact her, we'll have no choice but to pursue legal action. Please respect her wishes and stay away from our family. I read the message 3 times, my hands going numb around my phone. Harassment? I'd sent birthday wishes, holiday greetings. I'd asked how she was doing. I'd told her I loved her. Those were the messages she'd shown them? Those were harassment. Another message came through, this time with an attachment. A screenshot of one of my texts from 2 months ago. Honey, I miss you. Can we please talk? I don't understand what I did wrong. I love you so much. Please just call me Mom. Below it, Victoria had written, "This is an example of the emotional manipulation she's been subjecting Sarah to. I'm sure you can understand why we're concerned." Emotional manipulation. My desperate plea to understand why my daughter had cut me out of her life was emotional manipulation. My phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello? Eleanor Walsh?" A man's voice, crisp and professional. A lawyer's voice. "Yes? This is James Morrison, attorney for the Blackwood family. I'm calling to inform you that if you continue to attempt contact with Sarah Blackwood to be, we'll be filing for a restraining order. Do you understand? Sarah Blackwood to be. She was already taking his name, even before the wedding. I'm her mother," I said, my voice breaking. "I have a right to speak to my own daughter. Ms. Walsh, Sarah is 27 years old. She's made it clear she doesn't want contact with you. Continued attempts constitute harassment under Illinois law. I strongly advise you to cease all communication immediately." What did I do? The question burst out of me like a sob. "Please, just tell me what I did wrong." There was a pause. When he spoke again, his voice was slightly softer, but still firm. "Ms. Walsh, this isn't about what you did or didn't do. Sometimes families grow apart. Sarah is starting a new chapter in her life. I'm sorry, but you need to respect that decision. She's wearing my necklace," I said, knowing how insane it sounded. My mother's necklace. If she really wants nothing to do with me, why is she still wearing it? Another pause. "I don't know anything about a necklace, but my advice stands. No more contact. Have a good evening." He hung up. I sat there in the growing darkness, too stunned to even turn on a light. A lawyer had just called me. Sarah's future in-laws were threatening legal action. My daughter had shown them my private messages full of love and desperation, and they'd called it manipulation. What had she told them about me? What lies had she spun to make them see me as a threat instead of just a mother who missed her child? My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo. I enlarged it with shaking fingers, and my heart dropped into my stomach. It was from the engagement party, the one I hadn't been invited to. Sarah stood in the center, radiant in a white cocktail dress, surrounded by Richard's family. They were all beautiful people, tall and polished and gleaming with wealth. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet in the background, champagne in crystal flutes. And there, around Sarah's neck, catching the light, my mother's necklace. She'd worn it to celebrate her engagement, to be welcomed into a family that had just hired a lawyer to keep me away. She'd draped my inheritance around her throat while erasing me from her life. Below the photo was a message. "Thought you should see what you're missing. Maybe if you'd been a better mother, you'd have been invited." A friend. A friend. Someone who knew me, who had my number, who wanted me to hurt. My doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I never had visitors. For a wild moment, I thought maybe it was Sarah, coming to apologize, to explain. I opened the door to find a young man in a suit, holding a manila envelope. "Eleanor Walsh? Yes? You've been served." He thrust the envelope into my hands and walked away before I could respond. My hands shook as I opened it. Legal documents. Official letterhead. Words that blurred together through my tears. Restraining order. Preliminary filing. Stay at least 500 feet away from Sarah Walsh. No phone calls. No texts. No emails. No third-party contact. Violation would result in arrest. They'd actually done it. Within hours of our confrontation in the cafe, they'd filed for a restraining order, as if I were some kind of stalker, some kind of danger. I was her mother. I'd given birth to her. I'd raised her. I'd sacrificed everything for her. And now I was legally forbidden from speaking to her. I sank down onto my Murphy bed, the papers scattered around me, and I finally let myself cry. Not the quiet, dignified tears I'd held back in the cafe. Real, ugly, body-shaking sobs that tore out of my chest like something dying. Outside my window, the city continued on, oblivious to the fact that my world had just ended. But even through the tears, even through the devastating pain, one thought kept circling back. She still wore the necklace, and somehow, that meant something. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on my Murphy bed, staring at the ceiling, watching car headlights paint moving shadows across the water stain, and I remembered. Sarah was born on a Tuesday in March, during the worst snowstorm Chicago had seen in 20 years. David was stuck at work, or so he claimed. I labored for 14 hours alone, with only a nurse named Patricia holding my hand. When Sarah finally arrived, red-faced and screaming, Patricia placed her in my arms and said, "There's your whole world now, honey." She was right. I'd been 26 years old, with dreams of becoming a registered nurse, maybe even a nurse practitioner. I'd wanted to travel, to see the ocean. Small dreams, but they were mine. I gave them up without hesitation. David left when Sarah was 7. I came home from my shift to find a note on the kitchen table. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry." That was it. No explanation. No forwarding address. Nothing. Sarah had cried herself to sleep that night, asking why Daddy didn't love us anymore. I held her in my arms, her small body shaking with sobs, and I promised her something. "Baby, I'll love you enough for both of us. You'll never feel alone. Never. I promise." And I'd kept that promise. When she was 9, she came home crying because the other girls had new backpacks and hers was old. I worked a double shift that weekend and bought her the pink one with butterflies. I ate peanut butter for a week straight to make up the difference in our grocery budget. When she was 12, she needed braces. The orthodontist wanted $5,000. I didn't have it. I took out a credit card with a 22% interest rate. I'm still paying off that card today. When she was 15, she wanted to go to prom. I didn't have money for a dress, so I bought fabric from a discount store and taught myself to sew. I stayed up for 3 nights straight, my fingers bleeding from needle pricks. She'd cried when she put it on and said I was the best mom in the world. I'd believed her. When she was 16, my mother died. Congestive heart failure. She went quickly, which was a mercy, but it left me shattered. My mother had been my rock, the only person who understood how hard I was working to give Sarah a good life. At the funeral, I wore my mother's necklace, the only thing of value she'd left me. The emerald pendant had been her mother's before her, passed down through 3 generations. It wasn't expensive, but it was precious. Sarah had noticed it immediately. "Mom, that's so beautiful." After the service, sitting in my mother's empty apartment, I'd unclasped it from my neck and put it around Sarah's. "Grandma would want you to have this, so you always remember that you come from strong women. Women who survived. Women who loved fiercely, even when it was hard." Sarah had touched the pendant reverently. "I'll treasure it forever, Mom. I promise. I'll never take it off." And for years, she didn't. She wore it through high school. She wore it to her graduation. She wore it to her college orientation. When Sarah got into Northwestern, I'd been terrified. The tuition was astronomical. She'd gotten into University of Illinois, too, a much more affordable option. But Northwestern had always been her dream. So I refinanced the house in Oak Park, the house I'd almost paid off. I took out a second mortgage and parent plus loans, $100,000 worth of debt in my name. I never told Sarah about the loans. I didn't want her to feel guilty. I wanted her to enjoy college, to focus on her studies, to build the future I'd never had. She'd called me every single day during her first year. "Mom, I had the most amazing lecture today. Mom, I think I want to go to law school." I lived for those phone calls. During her junior year, I lost the house. I couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments anymore. The debt had spiraled. I'd gotten sick. Pneumonia that landed me in the hospital for a week. I missed work. I missed payments. And the bank foreclosed. I didn't tell Sarah. She was preparing for her LSATs, applying to law schools. So I packed up our belongings, put them in storage, and moved into this studio apartment in Pilsen. I told her I'd decided to downsize, to simplify my life. She'd seemed relieved that she didn't have to worry about me. When she graduated, I was there in the audience, wearing the same navy dress I'd worn today. I'd saved for months to buy her a professional briefcase. She'd hugged me tight and said, "I couldn't have done this without you, Mom." I'd cried happy tears that day. That was 3 years ago. Now, lying in the darkness, I wondered when exactly things had changed. When had I gone from being her hero to her embarrassment? From being the mother she called every day to the woman she wanted erased from her life? And why, if she really hated me so much, did she still wear that necklace? The restraining order hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. I'd received the notice on Friday afternoon, which gave me exactly 1 weekend to find a lawyer I couldn't afford. I tried. I called every legal aid clinic in Chicago. They were all overbooked, or I made too much money to qualify, or they didn't handle family law cases. I called lawyers from ads on bus benches. Their consultation fees alone were more than my rent. By Sunday night, I'd accepted that I'd have to represent myself. Monday morning, I put on my navy dress and took 3 buses to the courthouse in downtown Chicago. My hands shook the entire journey. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. Just a few benches, fluorescent lights that flickered. I sat alone on one side. Sarah sat on the other, flanked by Richard, his mother Victoria, and their lawyer, James Morrison. They were dressed like they'd stepped out of a magazine. Sarah wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. The necklace glinted at her throat. She wouldn't look at me. All rise. The judge entered. She was a woman in her 60s, with steel gray hair and glasses. She looked tired, like she'd seen too many families tear themselves apart in this room. Case number 2024 OR 8847. Sarah Walsh petitioning for an order of protection against Eleanor Walsh. Let's proceed. Morrison stood up. Your Honor, my client Sarah Walsh is seeking protection from her mother, Eleanor Walsh, who has been engaging in a pattern of harassing behavior. Despite repeated requests to cease contact, Ms. Eleanor Walsh has continued to send unwanted messages, has shown up at locations where my client was present, and has caused significant emotional distress. He presented evidence, printouts of my text messages, call logs, a statement from Victoria describing my ambush at the cafe. Everything looked worse on paper. My expressions of love looked desperate. My appearance at the cafe looked like stalking. Your Honor, Morrison continued, Ms. Sarah Walsh is starting a new chapter in her life. She's engaged to be married, pursuing her career. Her mother's obsessive behavior is preventing that. We're asking for a 2-year order of protection with a 500-foot restriction. 2 years. They wanted to legally forbid me from seeing my daughter for 2 years. The judge turned to me. Ms. Eleanor Walsh, do you have representation? I stood on shaking legs. No, Your Honor. I'm representing myself. She sighed, making a note. Would you like to respond? I looked at Sarah. She was staring at her lap, her fingers twisted together. The necklace rose and fell with each breath. Your Honor, I began. Sarah is my daughter. I raised her alone from the time she was 7. I worked multiple jobs to support her. I put her through college. I gave her everything I had. That's not relevant to whether you've been harassing her, the judge interrupted gently. I know, I said, but I need you to understand. I don't know what I did wrong. 6 months ago, we were fine. Then she got engaged. And suddenly, I didn't exist anymore. I just wanted to understand why. Morrison stood again. Your Honor, this is exactly the emotional manipulation we're talking about. Ms. Eleanor Walsh refuses to respect boundaries. I sent her birthday wishes, I said, my voice cracking. I told her I loved her. That's not harassment. That's being a mother. Your Honor, Morrison pulled out another document. We have a psychological evaluation conducted by Dr. Raymond Pierce. He's evaluated Ms. Sarah Walsh and concluded that her mother's behavior is consistent with narcissistic personality disorder and emotional abuse. The words hit me like physical blows. Narcissistic. Emotional abuse. I'd like to read a statement from Ms. Sarah Walsh, Morrison said. Your Honor, my client is too traumatized to speak, but she's prepared a written statement. He began to read. My mother has controlled my entire life. She made me feel guilty for every sacrifice she made. When I tried to build a life separate from her, she couldn't handle it. She showed up at my dress fitting, embarrassed me in public. I don't feel safe. I'm afraid of what she might do when I get married. I just want to move forward without her shadow over everything. I felt like I was drowning. That wasn't true. I never made her feel guilty. I'd hidden so much to protect her. Your Honor, I'd like to speak, I said desperately. The judge nodded. I turned to Sarah directly. Sarah, please. Look at me. She didn't move. I lost my house for you. I took out $100,000 in loans for you. I worked myself sick for you. And I never once made you feel bad about it. I wanted you to have everything, and you're wearing my necklace right now. My mother's necklace. If you really want nothing to do with me, why are you still wearing it? Finally, Sarah looked up. Her eyes were red, tears streaming, but her expression wasn't sad. It was angry. Because it's mine now, she said coldly. You gave it to me. It belongs to me. Everything you gave me, it's all mine. That doesn't mean I owe you anything. The judge banged her gavel. Order. Ms. Eleanor Walsh, you will not address the petitioner directly. But I couldn't look away from my daughter, from the stranger wearing my mother's necklace. Based on the evidence presented, the judge said, I'm granting a temporary order of protection for 6 months, with a 500 feet restriction. We'll reconvene in 6 months to determine if this needs to be extended. The gavel fell again. Final. I'd been legally declared a threat to my own daughter. I don't remember leaving the courthouse. I don't remember the bus ride home. I don't remember climbing the stairs to my studio apartment or unlocking my door. What I remember is sitting on the floor, my back against the Murphy bed, and feeling nothing. Numbness. Complete and utter numbness. The woman in the courtroom hadn't been my daughter. My daughter used to make me breakfast in bed on Mother's Day. She used to leave me notes in my lunch bag. Have a good day, Mom. You're the best. She used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. That woman in the cream suit, with the cold eyes and the lawyer, that was someone else. Someone the Blackwoods had created. Or maybe someone who had always been there, and I'd been too blind to see it. I sat there for hours as the light changed outside my window. I didn't turn on any lights. I didn't eat. I didn't cry. I just sat in the darkness and tried to understand how I'd gotten here. My phone buzzed. A text from my supervisor. Ellie, you missed your shift today. Everything okay? I'd forgotten about work. I texted back. Family emergency. I'm sorry. I'll be in tomorrow. Another buzz. My bank. Overdraft fee applied to your account. Current balance, $87. I laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. I was $87 in the hole, had just been declared legally dangerous to my own child, and I was still expected to show up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. My phone rang. Is this Eleanor Walsh? A woman's voice, older, with a slight southern accent. Yes. My name is Patricia Chen. I'm a nurse at Mercy General. We worked together about 15 years ago. Do you remember me? Patricia, the kind woman with gray hair, who had always brought extra food to share. I remember. I heard about what happened today. The courthouse is a small world, honey. I'm calling because I wanted to tell you something I should have told you a long time ago. I waited. 15 years ago, you were working 3 jobs. You'd come in exhausted, barely able to stand, but you never complained. And I watched you do that while raising a daughter alone. I admired you so much. Thank you, I whispered. But I also watched you sacrifice too much. I watched you give everything to everyone else. And I never saw you keep anything for yourself. Not even dignity. Not even boundaries. The words stung. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because I did the same thing. I gave everything to my kids. I thought that's what made me a good mother. But you know what I learned? Kids don't respect doormats. They love them, sure, but they don't respect them. I wasn't a doormat, I said. But even as I spoke, I wondered if it was true. Honey, you refinanced your house to pay for college for a girl who could have gone to a state school. You didn't tell her about the sacrifices because you didn't want her to feel bad. You hid your struggles. And now she thinks everything came easy. She doesn't know what you gave up because you never told her. I didn't want her to feel guilty. I know. But there's a difference between making someone feel guilty and letting them see reality. You protected her from the truth. So in her mind, you're not a hero. You're just background noise in her success story. I closed my eyes, feeling the truth settle over me. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw you at that courthouse. I saw the look on your face when she said you were abusive, and I recognized it. It's the look of someone who's finally seeing that love isn't always enough. That sacrifice doesn't guarantee gratitude. Tears finally came. What am I supposed to do? Stop giving, Patricia said simply. Stop sacrificing. Stop making yourself smaller so other people can feel bigger. Start living for yourself. But she's my daughter, and she's made her choice. You have a legal order keeping you away from her for 6 months. So use those 6 months. Not to pine for her. Not to figure out how to fix this. Use them to remember who you are beyond being her mother. I don't know who that is, I admitted. Then it's time to find out. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness for a while longer. But something had shifted. The numbness was cracking, and underneath it was something I hadn't felt in years. Anger, not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, clarifying kind. The kind that burns away everything false and leaves only truth. I'd given Sarah everything. My time, my money, my dreams, my mother's necklace. I'd given until there was nothing left of me but an empty shell, too poor to pay rent, too worn out to fight. And she'd taken it all and called me abusive. I stood up slowly, my joints aching. I walked to my bathroom and turned on the light, blinking at my reflection. I looked old, tired, used up, but I was only 53. I had time. I had a brain that still worked. I had skills and experience. Maybe Patricia was right. Maybe it was time to take care of myself. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, staring at the negative balance. Then I opened my email and found messages I'd ignored. Collection agencies, creditors. I was drowning in debt. Most of it from loans I'd taken for Sarah. Parent Plus loans. $100,000. With interest that had ballooned it to nearly $140,000. Loans in my name. Loans she would never have to pay. And suddenly, I wondered something I'd never wondered before. What exactly was I entitled to? I couldn't sleep that night, so I did what I hadn't done in years. I went through my files. Not the regular files. The box I kept in the back of my closet. The one filled with documents from my past. Deeds, mortgage papers, loan agreements. Things I'd shoved away because looking at them hurt too much. I pulled everything out and spread it across my Murphy bed. The original deed to the Oak Park house. I'd bought it for $180,000 20 years ago. According to a quick search on my phone, houses in that neighborhood were now selling for $450,000 or more. The refinance documents. I'd taken out $120,000 against the house. The money had gone directly to Northwestern. Tuition, room and board, fees, the foreclosure notices. I'd ignored them as long as I could. By the time the bank seized the house, I was 6 months behind on payments. They'd sold it at auction for $280,000. After paying off the loans, there should have been money left over. I searched through the papers until I found it, the final accounting. After the bank took their fees and paid the mortgage, there had been $83,000 left over. $83,000 that should have come to me. I'd never received it. I'd been so overwhelmed by losing the house that I'd just assumed the bank had taken everything. I'd never followed up. I'd just accepted it as another loss. My hands shook as I found the bank's contact information. It was too late to call, but I sent an email asking about the surplus funds from the foreclosure. Then I kept digging. The Parent Plus loan documents. I'd borrowed $100,000. With interest over 7 years, the balance was now $147,000. But there was a document stapled to the back that I didn't remember seeing. A notation in small print. In the event of borrower's death or permanent disability, this loan will be discharged. The loan would be discharged. If I died, Sarah would owe nothing. The debt would disappear. Had she known that? Had the Blackwoods known that? I kept searching and found something else. An old life insurance policy. I'd taken it out when Sarah was born, naming her as beneficiary. It was small, only $50,000, but I'd faithfully paid the $40 monthly premium for 27 years. 27 years, times 12 months times $40. I'd paid nearly $13,000 in premiums for a policy that would pay out $50,000 when I died. To Sarah. Everything went to Sarah. Even in death, I'd been planning to give her everything. My email pinged. That was fast. I opened it, expecting an automated response. It was from a person at the bank's foreclosure recovery department. Ms. Walsh, thank you for your inquiry. Our records show that surplus funds of $83,160 were transferred to an account at First Chicago Bank under your name in 2019. If you did not receive these funds, please contact us immediately, as this may indicate fraud. I read the message 3 times, transferred to an account under my name, but I'd never received the money. First Chicago Bank. I'd banked there when I lived in Oak Park, but I'd switched to a credit union after the foreclosure because their fees were lower. Had the money been deposited into an old account I'd forgotten about? I logged into the First Chicago Bank website. It took me 3 tries to remember my old password. The account was still open, and the balance made me drop my phone. $94,247.38. The $83,260 from the foreclosure, plus 5 years of interest. Nearly $100,000 had been sitting in an account I didn't know I still had, while I'd been living in poverty, while I'd been choosing between food and electricity, while I'd been 1 missed paycheck away from homelessness. I started laughing, then crying, then both at the same time. I'd had money. This whole time I'd had money. I could have paid my rent. I could have bought decent food. I could have gotten my car fixed, but I hadn't known. Because I'd been so traumatized by the foreclosure that I'd just accepted being broke as my new reality. I grabbed my laptop and started researching. The Parent Plus loans. Were there ways to get them forgiven? I spent 2 hours reading federal loan websites. Most of it was discouraging. But then I found something. If you can prove that the school misrepresented the loan terms or engaged in fraudulent practices, you may be eligible for borrower defense discharge. I remembered the student advisor who'd pushed me to sign the papers. She'd promised the payments would be manageable, that the income-based repayment plan would adjust to my salary, but the income-based plan only applied to direct loans, not Parent Plus loans. She'd lied, or at least omitted crucial information. Maybe I couldn't get the loans forgiven, but maybe I could fight them. For the first time in 6 months, maybe in years, I felt something other than defeat. I felt powerful. I had money I didn't know existed. I had information about the loans. I had documentation of everything I'd given up. And suddenly I understood something. Sarah could take everything from me. My time, my love, my sacrifices. She could call me abusive and get lawyers and wear my mother's necklace while erasing me from her life. But she couldn't take the truth. And the truth was, I had been stronger than I knew. I grabbed my phone and made a list. 1. Transfer money from First Chicago to my credit union. 2. Research borrower defense discharge for Parent Plus loans. 3. Find out about Dr. Pierce and his evaluation. 4. Document everything Sarah inherited from me. 5. Hire a lawyer. A real one. I wasn't going to fight for her anymore. I was going to fight for myself. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. like always. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel crushed by the weight of existence. I felt clear. I transferred $20,000 from the First Chicago account to my credit union. I paid my back rent. I paid my utilities. I went to the grocery store and bought real food, fresh vegetables, good coffee, chicken breast instead of canned tuna. The cashier looked at me strangely when I didn't count pennies to make the total, when I didn't put items back because I couldn't afford them. For the first time in 5 years, I paid for groceries without anxiety. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work. I wasn't sick, but I needed time. Time to think, time to plan, time to rebuild. I spent the morning researching lawyers, not the bus bench lawyers or the legal aid clinics. Real family lawyers with offices in decent buildings and reviews from actual clients. I called the highest rated one. I'd like to make a consultation appointment. I need help with a restraining order that was filed against me. Our consultation fee is $500, the receptionist said, probably expecting me to hang up. That's fine. When can I come in? The surprise in her voice was evident. We have an opening tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll take it. After hanging up, I looked at the bank balance again. $74,000 left. It felt like Monopoly money. Fake. Too good to be real. But it was real. It was mine. I kept researching. The Parent Plus loans. I found a lawyer who specialized in student loan defense. Their website said they'd won multiple borrower defense cases against universities for fraudulent recruitment practices. I called them too. Another $500 consultation. scheduled for Thursday. Then I researched Dr. Raymond Pierce, the psychologist who'd written the evaluation calling me a narcissistic abuser. It took some digging, but I found his practice website. He specialized in family wealth counseling and high-net-worth relationship mediation. His client testimonials were all from people with names like Rothschild and Vanderbilt. He catered to rich families like the Blackwoods. I dug deeper. Dr. Pierce had written several articles about toxic family members who threaten generational wealth and protecting beneficiaries from manipulative relatives. Every article painted the same picture. Poor family members were inherently dangerous. They were leeches, manipulators, narcissists who would destroy wealthy families, if not carefully managed and excluded. He'd evaluated Sarah with a predetermined conclusion. I was poor, therefore I was toxic. I screenshotted everything and saved it to a folder on my laptop. Wednesday, I went to the first lawyer appointment. Her name was Jennifer Reeves, and her office had windows overlooking Lake Michigan. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about Sarah, about the sacrifices, about the cafe, about the restraining order. I showed her the text messages, the legal documents, everything. Jennifer listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. "Ms. Walsh, I'm going to be direct with you. The restraining order itself is probably going to stand for the 6-month duration. Illinois courts generally err on the side of caution with these." My heart sank. "However," she continued, "there are several things about this case that concern me from a legal perspective. First, the speed with which the order was filed. They had a lawyer call you and file papers within hours. That suggests premeditation. This wasn't a spontaneous response to a scary incident. This was planned." I nodded, waiting. "Second, this psychological evaluation. Dr. Pierce never met with you, correct?" "Never. He evaluated you based solely on information provided by the other party. That's not just ethically questionable. It could be grounds for challenging the evaluation. A proper psychological assessment requires interviewing all parties. So, what can I do? We can file a motion to contest the order at the 6-month review hearing. We can bring in our own expert to challenge Dr. Pierce's assessment, and..." She paused, looking at me carefully. "We can potentially explore whether the Blackwoods have been engaging in parental alienation." Parental alienation? It's when one party deliberately damages the relationship between a parent and child. If we can prove that Richard or his family manipulated Sarah into viewing you as a threat, that's legally actionable. My mind was spinning. How would we prove that? We'd need evidence. Communications between Sarah and the Blackwoods. Documentation of what she said about you before meeting Richard versus after. Witnesses who can testify to your relationship before the Blackwoods entered the picture. It's not easy, but it's possible. I thought about Patricia, the nurse who'd called me, about Sarah's friends from high school, about her college roommate who used to tell me I was the coolest mom ever. "I can get witnesses," I said. "Good. In the meantime, I want you to document everything. Every memory of your relationship with Sarah, every sacrifice you made, every conversation. Write it all down with dates and details." "What about the loans?" I asked. "The Parent Plus loans I took out for her. Can I do anything about those?" Jennifer frowned. "Those are complex. Generally, parent loans are the parent's responsibility. However," she thought for a moment, "if you can prove that the school's financial aid office misrepresented the loan terms, you might have a case for discharge. That's not my area of expertise, but I know people who specialize in that." I told her I already had a consultation scheduled. "Smart," she said, with what might have been approval. "Ms. Walsh, I'm going to be honest with you. This won't be easy, and it won't be cheap. Even with the funds you have now, legal battles drain resources quickly. You need to decide what you really want here. Do you want a relationship with your daughter, or do you want justice?" "I want the truth to be told," I said. "I want her to know what she did, what they all did." Jennifer nodded slowly. "Then let's fight." I wrote her a check for the $5,000 retainer without hesitation. Thursday, I met with the student loan lawyer. His name was Marcus Lee, and his office was smaller than Jennifer's, but his walls were covered with framed letters from clients whose loans he'd successfully discharged. I showed him everything: the loan documents, the notes from the financial aid meeting, The payment history showing I'd been paying $800 a month on a $100,000 loan for 7 years and barely made a dent. "This is predatory," he said flatly. "They pushed you into the highest interest loan without explaining your options. You might have qualified for Direct Plus loans with lower interest rates. Or Sarah could have taken out Graduate Plus loans if she'd gone directly to law school. Can you help me? I can file a borrower defense application. It's a long process, and there's no guarantee. But you have a case, a good case, another retainer, another $3,000. By Friday, I'd spent $8,500 on lawyers, but I didn't feel poor anymore. I felt armed. The 6-month review hearing was scheduled for late April, but the confrontation came sooner than that. 3 months after I'd hired Jennifer, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom?" My heart stopped. "Sarah." After 3 months of legally enforced silence, my daughter was calling me. "Sarah?" My voice came out strangled. She paused. She was crying. "I need to talk to you. Can we meet? Please?" Every instinct screamed yes, but I'd learned caution. "Sarah, there's a restraining order. I can't. I'm the one who filed it. I can waive it. Please, Mom. I need to see you." I should have called Jennifer first, but she was my daughter, and she'd called me Mom for the first time in 6 months. "Where?" I asked. "The cafe. The same one. Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I agreed before I could stop myself. The next day, I dressed carefully. Not the navy dress, I'd donated that. I wore new clothes, simple but well-made. A charcoal blazer, black pants. I looked professional, solid. The cafe was nearly empty. Sarah was already there, sitting at the same table where she'd destroyed me. She looked different, thinner, tired. The necklace still hung around her neck. I sat down without speaking. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "You're my daughter." "Of course I came." She flinched. "I need to tell you something. Richard and I broke up. Of all the things I'd expected, that wasn't one of them." "What happened?" "His mother, Victoria. She's a monster. I didn't see it at first. She was so welcoming. But after we filed the restraining order, things changed. She started making comments about my unfortunate background, about how I needed to distance myself from undesirable elements. She meant me," I said flatly. "Yes, and it got worse. She controlled everything. What I wore, where I worked, who I could see. She said my college roommate was too urban. She wanted me to quit my job because it was beneath the family image." I listened, my heart hardening. Richard just went along with it. Every time I pushed back, he said I was being difficult, that I needed to adapt. "So you left him?" "He left me 2 weeks ago. His mother told him I was too much work. He broke up with me over text. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I need you." She reached for my hand. I pulled back. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I let them poison me against you. Please forgive me. I need my mother back. You told a judge I was abusive." "I know." Tears streamed down her face. "Victoria coached me. She told me what to say. I believed her." "You believed her over me." "Yes, and I was wrong. Please, Mom." I looked at her, really looked at her. She seemed sincere, broken. But I remembered something Jennifer had taught me. People who genuinely want to make amends focus on your pain, not their own. "What about the necklace?" I asked quietly. Her hand went to her throat. "What about it? Why did you keep wearing it? Through everything?" She was quiet for a long time. "Because it made me feel connected to something real. Because when I wore it, I remembered that I came from somewhere, from someone who loved me." "Past tense," I noted. "What?" "You said who loved me. Past tense." She realized what she'd said. "No, I meant, Sarah, I do love you. I will probably always love you. But I don't trust you anymore. And I don't think you really want me back. You want what I used to give you. Unconditional support with no accountability. That's not true. You need money, don't you?" Her face went pale. "Sarah, how much?" $15,000, she whispered. "I'm 3 months behind on everything. I'm being evicted." There it was, the truth. "I can't help you," I said. "What?" "I spent my whole life helping you. I gave you everything, and you thanked me by calling me abusive. So no, you need to figure this out yourself." I stood up. "Mom, please. If you really want to make amends, Sarah, you have 2 options. 1, Come to the hearing in 6 weeks and tell the truth. Tell the judge that Victoria coached you, that the restraining order was manipulation. 2. Give me back the necklace. Her hand clutched the pendant. It's mine. Then we have nothing more to discuss. I walked out with my head high. Behind me, I heard her sobbing. I didn't look back. The 6-month review hearing arrived on a Tuesday in April. Spring had come to Chicago, and the trees along Michigan Avenue were blooming with delicate pink and white flowers. I wore a new dress, emerald green, the color of my mother's pendant, the color of the necklace Sarah still refused to return. Jennifer sat beside me, her briefcase full of documents we'd spent months preparing, witness statements from Sarah's high school friends, testimony from Patricia Chen and other nurses who'd watched me sacrifice for years, financial records showing every dollar I'd spent, every loan I'd taken, every sacrifice I'd made, and most damaging of all, a statement from Sarah's college roommate, Emily, who'd saved text messages from Sarah during her junior year, messages where Sarah called me the best mom in the world and said she couldn't imagine life without you. Messages sent just 18 months before she'd called me abusive. The Blackwoods lawyer, Morrison, sat on the other side of the courtroom, but he sat alone. Sarah wasn't there. Neither was Richard. Neither was Victoria. The judge entered, the same woman who'd granted the restraining order 6 months ago. Case number 2024 OR 8847, 6-month review hearing. I see we have a motion to dismiss filed by the respondent, Eleanor Walsh. Let's proceed. Jennifer stood, and for the next 45 minutes, she dismantled the restraining order piece by piece. She showed that Dr. Pierce had never met me, never conducted a proper evaluation, and had a financial relationship with the Blackwood family that constituted a conflict of interest. She presented evidence that Sarah's characterization of our relationship had changed dramatically after meeting Richard's family, suggesting outside influence. She showed that my text messages, taken in context, were not harassment, but the desperate attempts of a mother trying to understand why her daughter had suddenly cut her off. Morrison tried to defend the order, but his heart wasn't in it. Without Sarah there to testify, without the Blackwoods' money and influence backing him, he was just going through the motions. Your Honor, Jennifer concluded, Eleanor Walsh is not a danger to her daughter. She's a woman who gave everything for her child and was systematically alienated by wealthy individuals who saw her as an embarrassment. This restraining order was never about safety. It was about control. The judge looked at Morrison. Does the petitioner wish to maintain the restraining order? He stood. Your Honor, my client has instructed me that she does not wish to pursue this matter further. We don't oppose dismissal. I felt Jennifer's hand squeeze mine under the table. Very well, the judge said. The restraining order is dismissed. Ms. Walsh, you're free to go. It was over. Just like that. 6 months of legal restriction, gone. But I didn't feel triumphant. I felt empty. Outside the courthouse, Jennifer turned to me. That's it, Ellie. You won. Did I? I asked. You got your life back. You got your dignity back. That's more than most people get in these situations. I thanked her, paid her final bill, and went home to my apartment. No longer a studio in Pilsen, but a 1-bedroom in Lincoln Park that I could actually afford. I'd paid off my debts, fixed my credit, started saving money for the first time in decades. I'd even enrolled in an RN program at a community college. At 54 years old, I was going back to school to finish what I'd started 30 years ago. My life was better than it had been in years, but my daughter was gone. That evening, I sat by my window, watching the sun set over the city. My phone rang. Sarah's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but some part of me needed to know. Hello? Mom. Her voice was small. I heard about the hearing, that you won. I didn't win anything, I said. I just stopped losing. Silence on the other end. Emily told me she gave you the text messages, the ones where I said I loved you. Yes, I meant them. I did love you. I do love you. I know, but you still won't help me. There it was, the real reason for the call. She was still being evicted, still drowning financially, still hoping I'd swoop in and save her. Sarah, I've spent the last 6 months learning something important. Love isn't the same as sacrifice. I can love you and still have boundaries. I can love you and still say no. So you're just going to let me lose everything? No, I said gently. I'm going to let you save yourself. You're 27 years old. You're smart, and educated and capable. You don't need me to rescue you. You never did. You just got used to having someone who would. I hate you, she said, but it sounded more sad than angry. Maybe, but I don't hate you. I just can't be who I used to be anymore. That woman broke herself trying to make everyone else whole, and it didn't work. It never works. She hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there for a long time, thinking about the necklace. Somewhere in this city, my daughter was wearing my mother's necklace while refusing to see that she'd become exactly what the Blackwoods had accused me of being. Someone who took without giving, who demanded without appreciating, who measured love in dollars instead of devotion. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. 3 months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was the necklace, wrapped in tissue paper, with a note in Sarah's handwriting. You were right. This was never really mine. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me, but I understand if you can't. I held the necklace in my hands, feeling its familiar weight. I thought about putting it on, reclaiming what had always been mine. Instead, I put it in a jewelry box and tucked it away in my dresser. Maybe someday I'd wear it again. Maybe someday Sarah and I would rebuild something real, something based on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. But not today. Today, I had class at 6 p.m., advanced anatomy and physiology. I had studying to do. I had a life to build that was mine, not in service to anyone else. I was 54 years old, and I was finally learning to live for myself, and that felt like enough.